here we have another example, different pharmaceutical company in this example taking massive amounts of taxpayer money to enrich themselves, while the consumer, the U.S. taxpayer, U.S. citizen in this case, ends up footing the bill for the potential vaccine that was developed with our money. Again, there should be no profit motive in healthcare. I mean, that is just literally ridiculous. Putting corporate profits, the corporate bottom line, before people's health and well-being is disgusting. So, consumer advocates warned Wednesday that pharmaceutical giant Moderna is, quote, taking taxpayers for a ride after the company announced plans to charge between $32 and $37 per dose for a potential COVID-19 vaccine developed entirely, okay, I'm going to say that again, developed entirely with funds from the U.S. federal government. But again, I mean, it's it's because the government is ran and controlled by these same corporate interests, so they don't see anything wrong with this type of disgusting, unethical, and gross relationship where U.S. taxpayer dollars, again, developed entirely this potential vaccine for COVID-19, and yet we have to pay for it again. How does that make sense on every level? It does not. Should be free. Quote, taxpayers are paying for 100% of Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine development. All of it. Peter Meyer-Barduk, director of the Access to Medicine program at Public Citizen, said in a statement. Yet, taxpayers may wind up paying tens of billions more to Moderna to buy our vaccine back if it proves safe and effective. I mean, goddamn, it's just so twisted. Again, just another example of how we live in such a topsy-turvy world, particularly in the United States, when it comes to healthcare and, pharmaceuticals. And case in point, this. The so-called Moderna vaccine belongs in significant part to the people of the U.S., said Meyer-Barduk. We paid for it. Federal scientists led the way. It ought to be the people's vaccine, not a new taxpayer burden. I would say it belongs completely to the people of the U.S. if it was funded and developed entirely with the U.S. taxpayer dollars. Come on, no need to be generous with these fucking for-profit, rapacious pharmaceutical companies. These corporate executives, these boards of directors are some really sick and greedy people that the system that we currently operate in rewards that type of behavior and action. The experimental vaccine is currently undergoing a phase 3 clinical trial that is expected to enroll 30,000 adult volunteers who do not have COVID-19, according to the NIH. Trial results are expected as early as October. Results from early-stage clinical testing indicate the investigational mRNA-1273 vaccine is safe, immunogenic, supporting the initiation of phase 3 clinical trial. Dr. Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, said in a statement last week. For context, the $32 to $37 dose cites for smaller volume agreement of COVID-19 vaccine is 60% more on low end than Pfizer price of $19.95 dose agreement with the U.S. government. Moderna notes price would be even lower for large volume agreements. Price would go up after the pandemic. I mean, to live in the United States during a pandemic, it's just wonderful, and I'm one of the definitely more privileged people as well. Under pressure from advocacy groups to publicly disclose how its potential vaccine is being financed, Moderna told Axios Wednesday that U.S. taxpayers are providing 100% of funding for the program. Look at that. They're just being honest and forthright with it. Yeah, we completely developed this potential vaccine, this potential treatment for COVID-19 with your money, U.S. taxpayer, but we're still gonna charge you $40, up to $40, and possibly more because, well, fuck you. Fuck you. Since April, the Massachusetts-based pharmaceutical company has received nearly $1 billion in taxpayer grants to develop a vaccine as part of the Trump administration's so-called Operation Warp Speed. They say it's Operation Warp Speed to pad the pockets of these pharmaceutical companies and their executives and boards of directors. That definitely seems to be happening at warp speed, right? Company received $483 million from the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority in April to support its vaccine development, CNBC reported last month. It announced it received an additional $472 million from the U.S. government. That's almost $1 billion. Taxpayer money that they're getting, enriching themselves that whole time, paying people's salaries, doing the R&D, etc. And then we're going to have to pay for it again. Dean Baker, senior economist at the Center for Economic and Policy Research, wrote in a blog post Wednesday that, this funding paid for the research and testing has also meant that the government took all the risk, right? Because if it didn't pan out, that's just $1 billion down the drain, basically. If Moderna's vaccine turns out to be ineffective, wrote Baker, the government will be out of the money, not Moderna, right? So you would think that the benefit, if this vaccine does turn out to be effective in treating COVID-19 to a certain level after these phase 3 clinical trials, then it would be given to the U.S. public for free because it was developed with U.S. public dollars completely, 100%. Again, that is why there should be no profit motive in the healthcare field, whether it's, there shouldn't be for-profit hospitals. There shouldn't be insurance companies that literally deny people care because it costs too much money and they end up dying or having to put off treatment or having to go bankrupt in order to afford it. Same thing in the pharmaceutical industry. There should be no profit motive there. It's disgusting. Despite the fact that Moderna's price tag for its coronavirus vaccine is the highest yet announced by any corporation involved with the Operation Warp Speed, Moderna CEO Stefani Banso on Wednesday characterized the cost as a discount during a conference call announcing the company's massive second quarter revenue increase because, again, they were infused with almost $1 billion in taxpayer money and they're trying to, increase those profits again at warp speed by charging people in the U.S. who might need this vaccine a substantial amount. But Public Citizen noted the absurdity of charging the public anything at all for a vaccine developed entirely taxpayer funding, right? They want us to buy back a vaccine developed with our tax. But again, it's like the people in charge in the U.S. government, obviously, Trump administration fits this bill, is they're willing to, just give away massive amounts of money to these corporations to develop vaccines in this case. And then, again, in this case, 100% of the funding for this potential COVID-19 treatment was paid for by us, by the U.S. taxpayer, and then we would potentially have to pay it again. That is ridiculous. Peace. Much love.